Aloha. I'm Paul Norman. I'm the executive director of Neighborhood Place of Puna. And right now, if you hear a little bit of rain in the background, that's because it's Puna, and of course, it's raining. And I just wanted to take a moment today to talk a little bit about ALICE, the ALICE report. So, ALICE stands for Asset Limited, Income Constrained, Employed. So, this is a study of households in several states, but there's this Alice study for Hawaii specifically, and it's basically it's a study of the economic health of households in Hawaii. And what the report found was um, that in Hawaii County, where Neighborhood Place of Puna is located, is that about 48% of the households are Alice households or below. So they are they're working, they have income, but they're not making enough. They're not making enough money to cover all of their essential cost. And usually, what this means is that they're spending too much money on housing. And when that happens, when you start spending too much money in one particular area, you don't have money for other things, or you have to make trade-offs. So if you're spending too much money on housing, then maybe you're putting off repairs on your car, or maybe you're buying, cheaper. You're buying lower quality food, or you're not taking the medicine. You're not purchasing the medicine, or going to the doctor, or doing all these really kind of essential maintenance things. And because you are putting off kind of basic maintenance expenses, you're very vulnerable to economic surprises, which can put you at risk of losing your housing. So just because you're Alice doesn't mean you're going to become homeless, but you're much more at risk for that. And then the thing that I find really telling when I look at this data, especially for Neighborhood Place of Puna, which works with families, is that in the state of Hawaii as a whole, when we look at households, when we look at family households, and in particular when we look at single parent households, which are headed by a woman, so single mom with children, with underage children, what we find is that 80% of those households are Alice or below. Okay, so think about that. 80% of all households headed by a woman, by a single woman, are 80% of those households are Alice or below, or they're in poverty. So that means 8 of every 10 families that you see that are headed by a single woman are kind of in economic jeopardy. And why this is important to keep in mind is because these are the households that we have charged with, that are responsible for, that we are entrusting to raise the next generation, to raise the generation that will continue to build our community, build our society, build our world, or not. And to me, it is very disturbing that we as a society are so willing to accept childhood poverty. We're so willing to accept family poverty when really families and children are the foundation of what we're trying to build. If we don't nurture our families, if we don't nurture our children, if we don't make sure that our children have a safe home, have a home, a stable home, have enough food to eat, have clothes, have access to school, get proper medicine, all that stuff, then I don't think there's a very bright future for our community, for our society. And I mean, really, as a society, if we truly want to be a great society, the way we measure, I mean, there are lots of ways we can measure that, lots of accomplishments and so forth. But one of the signs of a truly great society is the way it takes care of the weak and vulnerable. Because a great society has the resources and luxury to do that, right? The strong can take care of themselves. It's the weak and vulnerable that need our help and support. And all children are weak and vulnerable. And yet, ultimately, they are our future decision makers. They're our future community leaders. And they're also the future parents of the next generation of children and leaders. So, as a community and as a society, I think it's really important to us to be aware of the kind of desperate state that families, and in particularly families, single parent families, especially single parent families with a woman as the head of household, are in, and start working to change our society in ways, change our community, change the resources that we offer to our families. So Neighborhood Place of Puna does what it can to help families, running a shelter, providing family strengthening programs, helping with parenting skills, helping with basic resources. But we're one organization. We as a society need to look at ourselves and assess our priorities and decide, do we want to invest in our children and our families? And personally, I think the answer is yes. I haven't met anybody who says no to that question, because we're a society of good people. But sometimes we don't know, we're not aware. So if you have a chance and you live in Hawaii, you can go to the Aloha United Way website and look at the ALICE report for yourself, read it for yourself, see the data. But in the meantime, I hope that you will, you can support Neighborhood Place of Puna, but you can also talk to your legislator, talk to your local leaders, and express to them your feeling that it's important to support our families and our children. Aloha. Have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful day.